So, welcome to part 2 of making a painting out of your image. Where we left off, we had just done the surface and Gaussian blur to get the skin tone and other tones nice and even for us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start making it into a painting. And with that, we're going to use the mixer brush, which is over here. Mixer brush, second one down. Now for me, the mixer brush I like to use is this number 14 right here, right above the planet Saturn. This is one of the ones that comes with Photoshop already pre-installed. You do want to have it set to transfer and smoothing. That way you get a nice smooth stroke when you use your pen. You will want to use a tablet. I prefer the Wacom. Been using it for years, love it, because the tablets do give you a pressure so that you can flow off, raise it up, and get nice little wispy ends where you cannot do that with a mouse. Now then, when you are using the mixer brush, you do want to have sample all layers selected. You want to have the brush with the slash through it selected and also the clean brush selected. What that does is every time you do a new brush stroke, it starts with a clean brush. It doesn't carry the colors that you've been working through to the next brush stroke, like if you're working with a real brush, unless you clean your brush every single time. Alright, now personally my settings I like are the wet 85, 86, load 85, mix 90, flow 85, 86, somewhere in that area. And what those do is it treats your pixels like they're wet paint. So you can grab a brighter color, bring it into a darker, grab a darker color, bring it into a brighter one. And a lot of this is going to be dependent upon how you actually use your tablet. Everybody has different pressure, everybody has different motions that they use. So it's going to be a little different for everybody. I wish I could say that there are certain things, use this brush, use these settings, you're going to get the same results. But it's just like a regular painter. All painters have their own style. You're going to develop your own style also. But one thing you will want to do is you'll want to work on a brand new layer all by itself. So Shift Control N is going to give you the shortcut to new layer. I like to name my layer Paint, because that's what I'm going to be doing to it. So we're going to work on a new layer. That way, since we're going to have to be blending and going back and blending more and going back and blending more, a lot of it, we build it up on its own layer. That way, if we get to a point where we're like, oh no, I did too much, I'm not liking the way this looks, we can either delete the layer or we can do a layer mask, paint it out, apply the layer mask, start over fresh. So it gives us a little opportunity to have the pressure taken off to get it perfect on the right first try, which is what you would be doing if you were working on the actual layer itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the hair here. We're going to go up a little bit bigger. We're going to go with a little smaller brush. If you use the left bracket key on your keyboard, it will make your brushes smaller. Right bracket key will make your brush bigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to start pushing our pixels around like wet paint. And if you notice, I'm going to follow the natural flow of the hair. I want to use that. I'm going to push some bright colors into the dark, and I'm going to pull some dark colors into the light. And this is where it just becomes a lot of repetitive practice. If you've never used a tablet before, it's going to take you a couple of days to get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of using a tablet, though, you'll wonder why you never used them before, because they are remarkable for control and precision. The fact that they're pressure sensitive means you don't have to go keep changing your diameter of your brush as you get into smaller details. You just apply a little less pressure. So as you can see, we're coming in here, and what I'm doing is I am following the natural contours of the hair. Now see, I didn't care about all these random hairs up here, because I can go in with a bigger brush and I can pull that background in and I can paint right over them. So instead of, and I'm going to end up going in and fine-tuning these edge for the hair anyway, so I might as well just do it here instead of having done it before and then doing it again later, just do it once. We'll make it all nice and pretty. I'm going to go with a little smaller brush now. As you can see, I'm going to come in here, and as I go more and more, I can start to bring the flow of the hair as well as the coloring of the hair. Now it's the painting, so I don't have to be super detailed. If you look at famous painters, I mean, they're not painting individual hairs, then they're going with the flow of the hair. Now if you want to go and paint individual hairs, that's your style, knock yourself out. You have a lot more patience than I do. I like the kind of the oil painting look myself, and this is the style. No matter how many times I try to copy other styles, I always end up looking like this for me, so I'm just taking this as my natural style. So as you can see, in relatively quick time I've painted that in there. I can turn it on and off, make sure that I'm following the correct flow and pattern of everything. Now I'm going to do this to all the hair. I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do this to all the hair, because it'd be rather boring and I would run out of things to talk about. I'm going to come over here, going to go in with a bigger brush, and I'm going to fix that little bulge in the fabric because I want this nice flowy line right down here. Now the other thing that you can do, and this is what we're going to cover next, is we can go in and we can repaint in the folds in the fabric to give it more appealing flow lines to us. Now to do this, the best way to do it is to go back to your regular brush. We're going to go to black and white. We have a white outfit on now. If we had this in color, we would pick the colors. There are 3 colors that you're going to have to deal with when you're painting in fabric like this. You're going to have to go with the base color, you're going to have to go with the highlight color, and then the shadow color of your fabric. Now since this is white, I picked it because it's easier. Black and white is our shadow and highlight colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and with a very small brush, we're going to start painting in where we want the fabric to have creases. So I'm going to look over, there's a natural bend in here. I'm going to go in there. Now I'm at 30%. What this means is, in order for me to build up to a solid black, I'm going to have to do multiple passes. So if I come in here, and where I want it darker, I do 2 or 3 passes. And where I want it lighter, just 1 pass. So a lot of times what I end up doing is I'll do a big stroke and then little short strokes right around it where I want to build up the density. I'm going to do this to all the areas that I want to paint in, where I want a shadow to be. I'm going to come over here, going to come over here. Now, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do this for the next few hours. But I will go in and do the entire fabric. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to X. And this is where we're going to paint in our highlight areas. Now, what you normally have right next to a shadow is a highlight with a fold. And that's because the fabric is folding up, it's raising up a little bit, it's got a fold in it, which is curving it over, so it's going to catch the light a little bit more, and then it quickly goes under. The way the human eye perceives depth is how quickly does something go from bright to dark. The faster it goes from bright to dark, the deeper it is. Think of a cliff. Cliff goes quickly from daylight into shadow. The slower that it transitions from bright to dark, the wider or bigger it must be. Think of a beach ball. It has a gradual transition from the bright to dark side, and we perceive that as big and round. So by coming in and controlling how quickly something goes from bright to dark and where the transitions involved will give us our perception of depth. So usually when you do this, your highlights go a little bit longer because that's going to give us the room to have a deep that then becomes more shallow as it transitions in. So we're going to go back to our blender brush, and like I said, when you're first starting to do this, just do a couple of little areas to get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of it and how much you personally need to add the dark and lightness, then you'll get a better idea of how you should paint in and where you should paint in. So again, be patient just like before. But what we're going to do is I go in and I do a squiggle, and what that does is that takes my hard lines off, because you don't want a hard line. So if I come in here and I start to do these little blendy motions, and these are a lot. I know it looks like the brush is moving a lot, but these are a lot of small little micro tappings that I'm doing as I'm moving the bigger motion. And what that's allowing me to do is it's allowing me to do a nice gradual blend. So you can see as I come up here and squiggle it a little bit and then pull that line, it's allowing me to transition much more. So you can see I'm going to pull that up into there a little bit more, pull that up in there a little bit more, and then go back in with these little round tap 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 motions. That's allowing me to do small little gradual smoothing out of the tones. And this is, I wish I could tell you that there's this easy way to do it, but it's like everything else, just a lot of practice. It took me probably 2 to 3 days of practicing this motion in order to get it so it's second nature to me. Okay, so you can see there what we did. We'll turn that on and off. You can see how I made a darker to lighter, so it's folding up towards us. Boom, it's got a fold right there. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put a little indentation there and pull this out just a little bit so it looks like it's going to, it's actually building up and then cutting under. So we'll come up here, we're going to cut that under a little bit more. Turn that on and off. You can see how it gives us that nice crease. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to blend this a little bit more. We'll do this one up here also. Notice I'm doing a squiggle. I come up here, do my squiggle, but I'm doing it out, away from. So I'm coming down, and then I'm going to come in with a bunch of small little motions, start to blend in my tones to give me my gradual tone shifts so that it starts to give it the depth that I want it to have. In paintings, there are very few hard lines, if any. Wherever you have one, make it on purpose. Make it for dramatic effect. I'm not putting any in here. I'm coming in, I'm going to actually squiggle that line just a little bit to make it look a little more like the brush stroke coming out. And my hard line edge is not hard, I squiggled it and then I pulled it back through. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my little bunch of circular mini strokes. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of tap, 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 tap as I do a little motion. It's kind of almost a stippling effect. You can see, I'm going to pull that out some more and blend it around your little tiny circles. A bunch of rapid tapping going on in there. That's not one brush stroke, that is probably 50 or 60 brush strokes. Every time you see that moving around there, just enough to blend it through. Now we'll go back here. That's a little. We turn it on and off. You can see how I've created these two folds now. I can go in and I can zoom out here. I can go in and I will recreate all the folds that I want to, and I'm going to do it so that the lines are where I want them to be in order to give more motion feel to the final composition. I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do this for the next 2 hours or so. So join us for part 3, where when we get back we'll go into a little bit more of some texturing and everything. So click on the next one after you've worked on this a little bit and learn how to take it to the next step.